let's look at changing the subject of a formula. So this just uses our solving rules and we're just rearranging different formulas. So we have to remember, a formula is a rule written using numbers, letters, and mathematical symbols, like adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. Sometimes it's easier to rearrange a formula before we use it. We use the same rules for rearranging formula as we do solving equations. The subject of the formula is the letter on the left-hand side of the equal sign, or essentially the letter that it's equal to. The right-hand side should not have the same letter on it once it's been rearranged. So for example, in this formula here, S is the subject. If we rearrange that, D is now the subject. So whatever it's equal to, that is the subject. Let's take a look at a few examples. Now remember, you are just using your solving rules. So even though we have more letters than we have numbers, it's still the same solving rules, and we're just going to write what we see. So let's take a look at example 1 and 2. So example 1. We have y equals x plus 2, and we were asked to change the subject of the formula to x. So that means I want x equals everything. So I want to get rid of this plus 2 because I want x on its own. That's what this is asking me. So the opposite of adding 2 is subtracting 2. So after I've subtracted 2, I'm going to just write what I see. So here, this is y minus 2. So I'm just going to write y minus 2 is equal to, well, 2 minus 2 cancels off, so on this side it's just x. Now, that's me. I have x on its own, which is exactly what I want, and I can rewrite this with x first. So it's like I pick it and peel it over. So we've got x equals y minus 2. And that is us rearranging the formula or changing the subject. Let's look at example 2. So right now the subject is a, and I want the subject to be x. So I want it to be equal to x. So that means I need to get rid of everything next to the x. So next to the x I have a minus 4. So the opposite of subtracting 4 is adding 4. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides. And we're going to simplify this and write what we see. So here on this left-hand side, I'm going to write what I see, which is a plus 4. Because I can't simplify that anymore, so I'm just going to write a plus 4. That's equal to, on the right-hand side, well, we have negative 4 plus 4. We know those cancel out, become 0, and we're just left with x. So I have now changed the subject and have x on its own. So we can rewrite this, and we can go x equals a plus 4. I have changed the subject of the formula. Let's look at example 3 and 4. So here I have a subject is t and I want to make it x. So we know that next to the x is a 5. That means there's an invisible times sign. So the opposite of multiplying is dividing. So we're going to divide both sides by 5. And that means we are left with, write what we see, t divided by 5 equals 5 divided by 5 is 1. So we're left with x. So our new formula is x equals t over 5. Example 4, we have w equals x over 4. We wanted to make x the subject. So as we're dividing by 4, the opposite of dividing by 4 is timesing by 4. So we're going to multiply both sides by 4. So write what we see, w times 4. W times 4, we know, is 4w. So we can simplify it to be 4w, and multiplying and dividing will cancel each other off, and we're just left with x. So our answer to this, if we just peel it over and write it as x, equals 4w. And that's us changing the subject.